It's me, Channel Dog. How you doing? I myself am once again pretty excited because we got another great Spidey project to look forward to in the form of Spider-Noir, and I think this is really promising. I've already made a video about this before, all about how it kind of could be Sony's successor to their villain-centric mini-universe that they had outside of the MCU Spider-Man. You know, the one that sucked. And how we're already off to a better start because we do at least have a Spider-Man. But we do have a new behind-the-scenes preview all about the villains of the show. One of the things I mentioned before was the kind of Gotham appeal of Spider-Noir. How we're getting unique adaptations of classic Spidey villains all through the lens of this very old-school TV show, all on a TV budget. See, for me, a big part of the appeal of Gotham was how the villains were reinterpreted, and now we have a little preview for Spider-Noir that focuses on exactly that. So first up, we've got our main villain, Brendan Gleeson as Silvermane. Now, Silvermane isn't one of the more interesting Spider-Man villains, he's more just kind of a mobster. That said, I've got a lot of love for kind of crime dramas and mobster stories myself, so done right, I think Silvermane could be a super compelling villain, and it's only helped by the fact that we've got Brendan Gleeson here playing him. I really enjoy Brendan Gleeson as an actor. I really enjoyed his performance in The Banshees of Inisherin. I enjoyed him a lot in Joker 2, so if you got him playing a mob boss in a Spider-Man project, sign me up. I'm here for it. Brendan Gleeson is a great choice. I also really appreciate that they allowed Brendan Gleeson to retain his Irish accent as well. I think that's only going to add to Silvermane's character. Plus, Irish accents are just cool. Big up the Irish. It looks like Silvermane is on a revenge quest as his old hideout has been burned down. I'm gonna hazard a bet that Molten Man had something to do with that. And we've got this cool scene of Spider-Man getting into a car with Silvermane, so it looks like they are going to have quite a vocal dynamic between the two. It's not gonna be just immediate hostility, and that's always super engaging. Can I also just say, Spider-Noir's suit looks awesome. Yes, it's basically one-to-one from Into the Spider-Verse, and I just love the way it's been lit here. In black and white, it just has so much aura to it. It just looks so cool. It's perfectly textured. I love the way the eyes looks. Like, this suit is an absolute win. One thing I did definitely pick up on, though, was the editing of these little interviews, as this is kind of a behind-the-scenes video as well. Nick Cage sounds like a YouTube poop here.
And of a time of dangerous gangsters in the 30s, noir style.
And as someone who absolutely loves YouTube poops, it got a smile out of me. I know no one else is going to talk about that, so I figured I'd bring that up. And as I said in my previous video, I absolutely adore the way the show looks, especially this shot here of Silvermane in the rain. I know, bars, it rhymes great. It just looks fantastic. They're getting those low angles, the way he's framed, and just the way New York City looks in the rain. I'm loving the production design of this thing already. The cars, look at the cars, man. We're just not seeing this in other superhero shows, and I just love that. The production design here. Wow. Focus, Channel Dog. This is a villains showcase. The Sandman, played by Jack Huston, looks really cool as well. We're seeing already some of his sand shape-shifting abilities, and Jack Huston describes him as kind of the ultimate anti-hero. It looks like he's working for Silvermane here, but maybe he might turn around and betray Silvermane, or maybe he's more kind of a Moog for hire, but doesn't necessarily agree with the ethics of it. I'm just very intrigued to see how he's going to be an anti-hero. People do misuse that term quite a bit, so I'm intrigued to actually see if he is an actual anti-hero or if he's just a villain with a sympathetic side. Which is kind of more what Sandman was in the Sam Raimi trilogy. I mean, would you describe him as more of an anti-hero or more of a villain with a sympathetic side in the Sam Raimi trilogy? I guess in No Way Home you could say he's a bit more of an anti-hero. But for Spider-Man 3, I don't know. But we're not talking about Spider-Man 3 right now. I really do like the way Sandman looks, the fact that he's got kind of a sandy texture to his skin anyway. And another thing they mention is that Sandman is being killed by his superpowers as well, which is always a very cool dynamic. That's compelling. That's a new layer. You've got this really cool shot as well where this bullet just goes through Sandman's hand and he's just fine. That's gonna be really cool to see play out. Now, I gotta say, it was pretty ballsy that actor Abraham Popoola described Tombstone as much more interesting than the original. I don't know if that was the right thing to say. A lot of comic book fans don't take too kindly to when people playing adaptations of the characters kind of say that their versions are a bit more interesting, but at the same time he's clearly pretty passionate about it. That being said, what was described with Tombstone was kind of generic. It's like the comic character, but a bit more grounded. That's something you hear every day. And interestingly, this marks the second Tombstone since 2025 to not have the character's unique pigmentation, which is a real thing, by the way. I'm not sure what the culturally sensitive phrase for that is, so I'm just going with unique pigmentation for now. For now, it looks like Tombstone is going to be more of a heavy, but I do like this unique makeup on his face. I think the makeup department had a lot to play with here in this show, and I always love seeing that. While these aren't the classic versions of the characters, nor are they ever supposed to be, they do at least have their own iconic looks and imagery, and that's something I really appreciate. That's what worked about Gotham's villain adaptations. And then there was quite a big surprise. We've got Andrew Caldwell here, and I initially thought he'd be playing Electro as we saw him with electricity coming out of his hands, and to all intents and purposes, it looks like he's basically Electro. However, he's named Megawatt here, aka Dirk. Now, I can't claim to know anything about Megawatt, to be honest, but I've done a little bit of research here. So Megawatt was originally a character in Spider-Man Unlimited, back in 1993, just 1 year after my sister was born, so yes, he's absolutely ancient. He was granted the superpowers by a scientist named Jonas Harrow, and after battling Spider-Man, he would go on to become an international film star. And it sounds like they've kind of honored that with Megawatt in the Spider-Noir TV series, as Megawatt just wants his moment in the sun. He wants to be that center of attention, and it does feel a little similar to Jamie Foxx's Electro from The Amazing Spider-Man 2 in that regard, in that he just wanted to be seen. Design-wise, he looks nothing like the Megawatt from Spider-Man Unlimited, and that's probably for the best, as he would never fit in the universe of Spider-Noir, but what a deep cut to adapt Megawatt instead of Electro. I'm wondering if maybe that's due to a rights thing, maybe they can do it in the movies, but they can't do it on TV. I don't think that's the case. That doesn't sound very likely to me, purely on the basis that you do have Sandman and Tombstone here as well. And we get some really sweet action shots of the Spider battling against Megawatt, among other villains as well. But what also fascinates me is that they do show a lot of Molten Man throughout this preview, but he never gets a spotlight like Silvermane, Tombstone, and Megawatt did. And that's really strange to me. I guess he's going to be a big part of this. There were also characters we saw in the first trailer that didn't show up here either. I think they're holding back a lot from us, but we will see next month when Spider-Noir drops. I, for one, am incredibly excited. I just love the way the production design of this show looks, that old sort of 1930s noir appeal. I'll definitely be watching the black and white version first, as that feels just truest to the source material, it feels truest to the idea of Spider-Noir. But this show is giving me real Gotham vibes. And obviously Gotham was not set in that time frame, but it drew a lot of inspiration from it to create this kind of no-time aesthetic. If they pull this show off, I think it has the potential to be the next Gotham. Hopefully not in terms of getting cancelled, but just in terms of the overall enjoyment of it. But the excitement doesn't stop there, and it sure as hell doesn't look like it's stopping at Spider-Noir either, as showrunner Oren Uziel, sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, spoke to SFX magazine, and seemed to heavily imply that there are more projects dedicated to other Spider-Man variants on the way. The quote being, "I'm focused on Spider-Noir, but I know there are others in the works. I've talked a bit to the people working on them, and they're very exciting. They're following a little bit of that same formula as Spider-Noir, that same idea of taking the genre and elevating it by putting a Spider variant into it. It opens up a whole new world, and it's an extremely exciting opportunity. From the sounds of things, I think that's the direction that Sony needs to go going forward. These different universes dedicated to different Spider-Man variants. A, that's going to lead to some extremely stylized projects, and I always look forward to that. B, you can't have a Spider-Man universe without a Spider-Man in it. That much has very much been proven. So if they're choosing to focus on these Spider-Man variants instead of just the villains without a Spider-Man at all, that is a big upgrade. So which Spider variants would you like to see come to TV? What villains are you most looking forward to in Spider-Noir? How are you feeling about the way the show looks? I think this is all extremely promising. Let's discuss it down in the comments below. I'll see you there. I fully intend on following up with coverage on Spider-Noir episodes as they drop, so if you subscribe, you definitely won't miss that. Like the video, dislike the video, do whatever you want with that, hype the video, that's a new thing. And now it's time for me to give a special thank you to my patrons in the $5 and above tier who have been a massive help as YouTube's algorithm has been just toying with me over the last month. Their names are as follows: Mnalza, KB, Twilord, Biotin, Sirius the Skeptic, and Mr. SP. Kale Bennett, Blue Dog is burned into my screen, Dare Denny, Sad Goku, Ghostly Phantom, Xanderwolf, Channel Pup, just another evil robot clone taking discarded naming rights, Vera Wild, SSO6, Carlex, RT0, Marv Animation, Grant Allen, Josh Strider, Silver, Ben Raven, Basic Content, Gideon Wells, Press Play to Jason, Joseph Tribble, and Show Henshin. Thank you folks so much for how generous you've been. This video is over, but there are others waiting for you on my channel, so go discover the rest. Alright, get out of here, you little scam.